guys, how are you? And welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy in these times. And I thank you all so much for stopping by today. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can. And make sure to leave a thumbs up on the video by the end. And let's talk some movies, shall we? Well, the Christopher Nolan series continues on my channel. And so far, it has been a perfect, clean sweep. 3 reviews so far and 3 straight A+. Can the 4th one keep the streak going? Well, let's see. The Dark Knight Rises. This was, of course, written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It is the 3rd and final installment in the acclaimed Dark Knight trilogy, starring Christian Bale, of course, as the Caped Crusader. And this film was released in theaters in 2012, a huge year for cinema. And this movie picks up 8 years after the events of where the previous film left off, since Batman vanished into the night, thereby turning him from hero to fugitive. He has assumed the blame for the death of Harvey Dent, and he has sacrificed everything for what he and Commissioner Gordon both hoped was the greater good. And for some time now, this lie has actually worked. Criminal activity in Gotham City was pretty much rendered obsolete after the introduction of the Anti-Crime Dent Act. But everything changes with the arrival of a cunning cat burglar, Selina Kyle, played by Anne Hathaway, who has a mysterious agenda. However, far more dangerous is the emergence of Bane, played here by Tom Hardy. Bane is a masked terrorist whose ruthless plans for Gotham drive Bruce Wayne out of his self-imposed exile. But even once he dons the cape and cowl again, Batman may be no match for Bane's brute strength. And just a fair warning before I continue, the movie's 8 years old, so this is gonna be filled with spoilers. You've been warned. So just out of the gate, there is, once again, a lot to praise about The Dark Knight Rises. First being, this movie feels so epic. And this is not just because of the 2-hour and 45-minute runtime. Honestly, it's more so because this definitely feels like a worthy finale to this franchise. From the get-go, everything just feels so urgent in this film. Everything just feels so earned. Right from the opening scene, we get a terrifying hijacking of an aircraft in Uzbekistan by Bane. Now, Tom Hardy portrays Bane in this film, and he is absolutely terrifying on a whole nother level. I would honestly argue that unlike Heath Ledger's iconic Joker, Bane I think is more terrifying because I completely buy that he could legitimately kick your ass himself. Tom Hardy bulks up a lot for this role, and he looks absolutely horrific with that mask on his face. And I absolutely love what Christopher Nolan does with Bane here. Instead of just making him the big brute that Batman always fights, don't let Bane's appearance fool you. This Bane is actually very smart with an extremely expansive vocabulary. And that fear factor that Bane has is really accentuated with the decision to basically turn him into a remorseless terrorist.
I wasn't sure what part of you would break first, your spirit or your body.
Yeah, it's okay if you're distracted by that muffled voice. But that's Bane right there. If he doesn't have a mask, it's not Bane. Every time Bane gains control in this movie, realistically so, we feel at his mercy, and he shows absolutely no mercy here. And those themes are really played into a lot in this film. That idea of mercy and pain and suffering. I mean, one example is the scene they shoot at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of the Steelers. And by the way, the cameos by Big Ben and Hines Ward as part of the Gotham Rogues football team I think is really clever. But Bane basically coming in, just taking over, blowing up the football field, trapping the entire Gotham police force underground. Him giving a speech over the referee's microphone. Just a mesmerizing performance. Also, this may be a strange comparison, but this version of Bane reminded me, honestly, a lot of Darth Vader. Hear me out on this one. It isn't just because of the obvious reasons with the mask and the voice, but it's the one character trait that they share. Bane does not give a damn if you're on his side or not. If you fail him, you will die. Absolutely no mercy. And I feel like Tom Hardy pulled this character off perfectly. Of course, on the other side of the coin, I gotta talk about Christian Bale and his final appearance as Batman on the big screen. Phenomenal once again. This is an older Bruce Wayne, guys. When we first see him in The Dark Knight Rises, he's been a recluse. He is completely convinced that he's gone completely against the moral code of Batman by murdering Harvey Dent, which he didn't, of course. I mean, if so, completely by accident. But he's not overly convinced that this was completely accidental. So when we see him here first, he is a broken man. He walks with a cane, he's very weather beaten, starting to get a little grayer up here. here, and he has been practicing social distancing for years at this point. Side note, I feel like Wayne Manor would be a phenomenal spot to quarantine yourself at this time. But Bruce Wayne's whole arc in this movie, where he has to don the cowl again, this whole evolution from recluse to vigilante, it is very, very satisfying in The Dark Knight Rises, and yet this whole evolution still feels wholly unique. And it feels unique because there are already characters like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character in this movie that already know, basically, that Bruce Wayne equals Batman. Speaking of, Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays a rookie cop turned detective named John Blake in this movie. And spoiler alert, what they reveal him to be by the end, essentially Robin, I loved it. It's so clever and a phenomenal performance to boot. And Morgan Freeman reprising Lucius Fox is absolutely wonderful in the sparse content he has in this film. Gary Oldman is once again amazing as Commissioner Gordon. And he spends pretty much the first half of this movie confined to a hospital bed, but when he is out in the field, it's great as per. And I think the most interesting facet of Gordon in this movie is the speech that he's written, revealing the truth of Harvey Dent. Remember at the beginning of this movie, or near the beginning at Dent's funeral, he's not quite ready to reveal the truth. But you know this is eating him up inside. But once this truth is finally revealed, it's not by his own word. It's from Bane. Once again, plays into that idea of being at Bane's mercy, pretty much putting the only authority figures left in Gotham basically kneeling at his feet. Well, not exactly kneeling, but Bane has the upper hand on them for a majority of this movie. It's genius writing, guys. Rounding out the reprisal performances is Michael Caine as Alfred. Once again, absolutely great. He is so funny here. Hey, you two should exchange notes over coffee. Just you, sir? It's okay. It takes a while to get back in the swing of things. I realize that's a terrible impression, but work with me here. I also really loved the evolution of Bruce and Alfred's relationship in this film. That scene where Alfred resigns after Bruce finds out that he burned Rachel's letter, it's such a heartbreaking scene. Especially heartbreaking because Michael Caine essentially vanishes from this movie until the end. And I thought he was great, as usual. How about Anne Hathaway as Selina Kyle? Amazing performance, super badass. And I love what she does with her line delivery. It's very sly, very cat-like. I mean, which obviously, given Selina Kyle's alter ego, that's exactly what this character needed. And she was also really kick-ass in the action sequences, which, by the way, as per with this trilogy, are fantastic. These action sequences are just so pretty. The hand-to-hand combat, the practicals, the CGI, everything just fits together so perfectly. Now here's where some of the problems with this movie may arise. Marion Cotillard as Miranda Tate. Personally speaking, I thought Cotillard was excellent with the material she was given. But here's the thing, the eventual reveal of her as Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, the man who trains Bruce Wayne to be the way he is, Bane's lover, basically. All that put together must have been very shocking to the audiences at first. And a lot of people may watch this movie and complain that there's an exposition dump here with this reveal, and, well, yeah, there's no getting around that fact. There is. But I did not have a problem with this scene at all, because to me, the more natural the exposition flows in the story, the better. Like, as the movie goes on and more things are revealed about these characters, more layers are peeled back. That's the kind of exposition I like. And I honestly kind of forgot the connection that Talia had with Bane before this rewatch I had recently. So it may have hit me a little bit harder. Honestly, this movie does have some spots where it can drag a little bit. It is overall a very slow build. I do think that overall this is the weakest of the Dark Knight trilogy. But here's the thing, guys. Choosing the worst film in the Dark Knight trilogy is like trying to tell me which flavor of Jolly Rancher is the worst one. Because they're all phenomenal, in my opinion. I mean, The Dark Knight Rises is truly a fitting finale to one of the best trilogies in cinema history. Good direction, spectacular visuals, exciting action, phenomenal performances. I really do not have much to complain about with The Dark Knight Rises. And yes, that means this movie gets my perfect grade of an A+. And with that, we are 4 for 4 on the Christopher Nolan series. All perfect movies. Did I mention that he's a phenomenal filmmaker? But this series has been very fun so far to give all these a rewatch. Look forward tomorrow for my review of one of my favorite Christopher Nolan films, Memento. Can't wait to talk about this one. But thank you so much as always for tuning into the video. Just a reminder, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can on your way out. And be sure to leave a thumbs up on the video if you liked it. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.